Welcome, it's Jeremy Allen Gould. I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that in fact the rumors that you have all heard are true. I started this podcast because I freaking love music. I was privileged enough to book amazing artists and bands in the past, and I was lucky enough to stay in touch with many of them to this day. This is a place to hear their stories. Thank you so much for riding along on this journey, and I hope you enjoy what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true.
Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome my friend, Chris Siegle. You know Chris from the band Jeremiah's Grotto, as well as Farewell to Fashion. Chris and I have known each other for a very, very long time, so it was an awesome opportunity to reconnect, talk. We hadn't talked this song in quite a while. Awesome stories, awesome perspective on his past and his musical career, and just an amazing person overall. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Chris Siegle. Chris, what is up, my friend? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you for coming on my podcast, man. I really appreciate it. Tell me, what do you got going on currently? What's going on in your life, man?
Everything family and kids related, really. I have my oldest is out of the house. She's down in Florida. I'm living in Tennessee, but she's down in Florida with her career. She's a science teacher, and teaches karate.
Wow.
But then I got two younger ones in the house. I got a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. We live up in Columbia, Tennessee. And it's just kids going 100 miles an hour in all directions. So my wife and I have our hands full with that, but it's a blast, going in sporting events and piano recitals and everything else. There's always something going on between, them and the school and whatnot. So it's a good time.
That's awesome. That sounds exciting. You like living up in Tennessee?
Yeah, we love it. So, I'm from Florida, born and raised in Florida. And my wife is from Orlando, Florida. And we just realized that we didn't like living in Florida. We don't like the super hot weather all the time. We're more of a fan of seasons.
Sure.
And we're not so much beach people, we're mountain people. So we've lived in a lot of places. We've kind of moved around a few different places, but we were out in Washington State, and it's beautiful. The scenery is beautiful, and it was like, oh, this is awesome. But then when COVID hit and everything was kind of locked down, we didn't have any family or anyone around us. So we compromised that Middle Tennessee would be a good spot because we have family close by.
Yeah.
She has cousins here. My real mom lives not too far away from here. So we have family. We're mountain adjacent. We're in the hills, but I guess for Florida, it'd be mountains. But and we get seasons. It's like 30 degrees out or something right now. So I like the cooler weather. But yeah, it's a good mix of everything. So yeah, Middle Tennessee's been pretty awesome.
That's awesome. I love Tennessee. My wife and I really enjoy going up to Gatlinburg a lot, and just getting into that weather, like you said. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So. Sweet, man. Well, let's talk about when you and I met, mid 90s, late 90s. I don't even remember we were talking earlier. It's been so long, but you obviously had Jeremiah's Grotto, and I was tagging along with a band called Smell of Wonder from Jacksonville, and we played a lot of shows together, or they did, I should say. And you guys were always so awesome and cool, and I just always felt like we always had a connection, as people, and obviously looking back through the years, obviously that was correct. And it's just cool to look back on those times. I just fondly remember, all those times of, go down to Orlando, or you come to Jacksonville, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love Smell of Wonder. I had and I'm gonna, knowing a lot of the guys' personalities. Actually, Mike von Balson's probably one of my favorite people on the planet.
Amazing.
He played drums at Jeremiah's Grotto for a little while. He helped us out.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And he's probably one of the best drummers I've ever played with, and just one of the best guys that I've hung out with. But those guys, I think I'm probably maybe a little bit older, or as old as those guys, but they to us were like big brothers. Like they were so good.
Yep.
Like they were all just so talented. And I'm like, I can't think of any other musicians that I've ever spent any time with or listened to that are this good. Like I've always compared it to like it might sound weird, but like hanging out with like Radiohead or something. It's just like, because they're so good at what they did.
Oh, I know.
Blown away. We're always trying to like figure out how do they do this? How they learn how to play like this? And they're like, we were 20 maybe at the time. And how they get good by 20 when we're like still, 3 bar chords, and that's it. That's all we got. That's the extent of our talent. So
I'm surprised they never went anywhere. For real. Like I know.
I could listen to. We did that sampler when we were in Gainesville, and we did that sampler, and we had like 2 songs of theirs on it, and I've listened to that a few times, and it's like, man, this is good now.
I know. Do you still have that?
Yeah, I do.
Send it to me, because I don't think anyone's got any. Like they literally don't have it, and then maybe they do, maybe they don't. I just haven't heard those in so long.
Yeah, but like you could put that stuff out now, and people would be like, "Man, this is awesome."
Dude, did you ever hear there's Shangri-La?
Yes, I have all the stuff. Yes.
Dude, it's so good. Jeremy, Jeremy Griffith?
Yeah.
He just mixed one of the songs recently. You should listen. It's unbelievable. Like,
all right, check that out.
It's just one of the same songs, but it sounds completely different. Like, you know what I mean. So that's awesome, man. Awesome. Well, let's talk about growing up for you, man. Influences, bands, records, maybe that kind of put you on the trajectory that you went. And growing up for you, and how music kind of came into your life.
Man, that's a big one. I'm from a small town in Florida called Sebring, Florida, really Lake Placid, Florida. So it's like kind of a little above the Everglades, kind of hour and a half to either coast, like maybe 2 hours to Orlando, 2 hours to Tampa, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So we didn't have there wasn't really live music or stuff. I think the first stuff I remember hearing was obviously going to work with my dad on construction sites was like maybe Led Zeppelin and I don't know, Boston, stuff like that was played on like a rock station that we would get sometimes out of Tampa. First thing I remember my dad bringing home though, he had I actually have all of his vinyl, but he had Van Halen. I heard Jump.
Nice.
And I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't understand any of it, but how you're very similar to me. So like, it just grabs like something inside of you and it's like, this is what life is about.
Yep.
And it kind of did that. And then so like I really only ever heard what was on the radio growing up for a long time. We didn't really have cable TV, for many years. And I was young. It was probably this is like 1982, 83, 84. It was like whatever I could find on the radio. We lived out in the middle of nowhere and with a little black and white TV. Then there was a local video channel out of Tampa called V32. Like it would like play at night. And that's where I first started seeing videos. And I was probably like 9 or 10. And I saw The Cure, Just Like Heaven video.
So good.
And I was like, what is this music? This is crazy. It didn't really have we didn't have like a music store for a long time, like a place to go buy music.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like whatever my dad listened to. Then I got really into skateboarding and I started hearing music on skateboard videos. And then, other friends of mine would know someone who's from like Tampa and they would like, hey, have you ever heard this band Slayer? Or have you heard Metallica? And this is like Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets came out. I kind of got into that. Then someone brought like, I think a Fugazi cassette. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? So I just kind of went down those rabbit holes wherever I could find them. And I really dove into anything I could get. Metal, punk rock, pop, whatever it was. I just really got into it. My dad bought me a guitar when I was like, I think 8. It was like an electric guitar, but no amp. It was just a guitar. It's like, here, play this.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to do with it, but eventually, skateboarding was my big thing. But then whenever I'd be injured and I couldn't skate, I'd noodle on a guitar and try to figure out, listen to music and try to play along with like, what is this? How do you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, there's just so much music that I think the 80s were a great time for music and
totally.
and of all different styles and genres. And I didn't have any restrictions. I didn't grow up in like a Christian household. So it's really my dad was kind of like, hey, any music goes, just don't, listen to anything that's too crazy, like I don't know about like a lot of cussing or something. I step in, oh, that's a little bit too much. A little bit of cussing's fine. This was too much. So, but yeah, it's really kind of like music. That's how I got hooked on it. And that's, I'm still like that now. I'm still always searching for new stuff in whatever form it comes.
What are some of the records, looking back, that are kind of staples in your life?
Ooh, Fugazi, 13 songs. Metallica, Ride the Lightning, I love. Sonic Youth, Dirty,
great record,
really good. Smashing Pumpkins, Gish,
great record.
I think I saw like a video of something off theirs one time, and it was before Siamese Dream, and I really loved it. So I picked up that Gish album, and I was like, "This is amazing."
Yep.
And then Siamese Dream came out, and I was like, "This is like random."
I know. So good.
Sunny Day Real Estate, obviously. Diary, when that came out.
Yep.
I was like, I didn't even understand anything about that music or where that, how could people have even thought to create that at the time. Some other stuff. Probably too much to.
No, I get it. Well, let's talk about, you mentioned your dad got you the guitar and you started playing. Is that kind of what maybe pushed you in the direction of wanting to starting a band? And how, is that kind of how Jeremiah's Grotto came to be?
Yeah, it was like a long road, right? So I got a guitar when I was about 8. I think it was Christmas. I was 8 or 9. Got a guitar. I didn't know anything about it. He signed me up for lessons. I learned how to tune the guitar in lessons. But then the lesson, I didn't go very long. The guy, he's like, I'm going to teach you guys like these 3 chords and you're going to be able to play songs like this. And then the guy would play songs for like an hour and not show anyone the chords. So I was like, this is kind of silly. So a buddy of mine, he was an older kid. He was already like, he had another guy who gave him lessons and he was pretty good. So he was kind of showing me chords and trying to teach me, these are the names of the strings and this is an E and this is an A. And so I just played with him, and he was like really big into like Alice Cooper and Wasp and stuff like that. So we'd sit in his room. He was like, like the typical metalhead stoner kid, had like the really long mullet, jean jacket and everything. And he'd all just be in his room headbanging all the time. And I'd hang out at his house, and we'd like cover Wasp songs or whatever, Megadeth songs, whatever we came up with that day. And but yeah, he really kind of showed me. So him and we started a little band where I actually had to play bass, he played guitar, and then we had another friend of ours who played drums. But this is like middle school, and we played like a pep rally at middle school. And I was like, no one's gonna know what to do with it. We covered like Wild Thing, and then we played 2 originals, but they were instrumental because all of us were too scared to try to sing.
Sure.
But everyone went nuts, in the pep rally, because it's like, oh, it's live music, and we thought that was awesome. But I did that, and then I had a band in high school called Element, which is actually through high school, and then when I moved to Gainesville, I went to Gainesville. I moved there because a friend of mine was going to school at UF when I was still in high school. I went to the Hardback, and I saw a band called Radon. And I was just like, I had no idea that existed. Like, I just thought concerts were like, well, bands only play concerts in arenas. Like, there's no such thing as like, you can't just be on the floor and play a concert. That doesn't make any sense at all. But I went and I saw Radon, and I was blown away. Yeah. And I was like, I only paid $3 to get in, and like all these people were here having a great time. But then I moved off, went off to college, went up to Gainesville with my band Element. And then that kind of like ups and downs dissolved. And eventually I found church. I had never like really heard or done anything with church until I was in college. And so whenever I started going to church, like these guys started talking to me about going to church and getting saved. And when I went and I did that, it kind of changed everything for me. That the band Element kind of dissolved. People kind of wandered off, as bands do. But I still wanted to play. And so I hooked up with a few guys, one guy I went to church with and a couple other kids that he knew. And we started Jeremiah's Grotto. It's like not knowing anything about how music works or, being we were definitely not a serious band at the time. Maybe we thought we were, maybe we were a little bit over our skis, but yeah, that was like kind of the genesis of Grotto was, just 4 church guys wanting to like, hey, let's play some music together. We'll do like, we'll be like the Christian version of Sunny Day or whatever. I don't know. What
Love that.
So, but we would play like we played like the Hardback. I think it's funny. You were talking to someone from Branston on the podcast. Yeah. And he talked about a show at the Hardback with Appleseed Cast. And
I was at that.
We were the opening band for that. That was Jeremiah.
Oh my God, dude. I was at that show.
And Chuck Reagan from Hot Water Music worked the door at that show.
Wow.
Because Hot Water Music is like probably my all-time favorite band now. And I remember we played and I was walking outside and Chuck was like, hey, he said, you were in that band that just played. It's like, yeah. And he goes, and he just said impressive. And I was just like,
that's amazing.
I was like, Chuck from Hot Water said in my band.
That's so cool. Dude, I have a funny story about that show too, real quick. I was standing in line for that show. My friend Griffin, my old roommate Griffin, was with me. And there was a guy standing right next to us. And he was like a metalhead guy. And we were talking about bands and stuff, that whole world. And I was like, yeah, we're into this and that. And he's like, oh, I'm into this. He's like, I'm starting a band soon. And I was like, that's cool. What are you guys going to be called? And he's like, Under Oath. And I was like, what? That's so cool. Like, and he was like, his name was Corey. It was Corey Stigger. And I know it was so random. And like, I'll never forget that. It was just so crazy. Awesome. I know it really is cool. And it was just kind of one of those moments that he might have had that conversation with a bunch of people, but it was like, kind of one of the looking back, I was like, what a cool moment. Like,
so let me tell you, I have a related story with that. Whenever I became a Christian, I really thought music was like, I can't do this anymore because I listened like, when you go to like the Christian bookstores and you pick up most of the CDs, I didn't know what Tooth and Nail or any of that stuff was. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't be like a Michael W. Smith. That's just not my thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amy Grant's backup guitar player is not my thing, right?
Yeah.
But I met Corey, and he had another friend, this guy Steve, and they were doing a late night radio show on a Christian radio thing in Gainesville, and I hadn't heard it, and I had just met Corey, and he's a metalhead kid, and so we connected, and he was telling me, there's spirit-filled metal, spirit-filled hardcore, and I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah.
And so they invited me up to the radio show one night just to hang out and watch and listen to some of the music. And Corey actually was the guy who introduced me. He's like, you can be a Christian and still do all this stuff. Like, you can play whatever you want. It's talking about motivations of your heart. And he goes, hey, I'm starting a band. I said, oh yeah. And he goes, yeah, it's gonna be called Under Oath. And I said, oh yeah. And he goes, yeah, when you go in court and you have to put your hand on the Bible when you're under oath.
That's sick.
And I was like, okay, that's awesome. And then 2 years later,
I know, dude.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so cool. Man, that just gives me chills. It's just that. Those are the little moments that I vividly remember, and obviously you do too. It's just so cool to hear that. We've all had that kind of conversation in some way, shape, or form. And man, that's so cool. Yeah, man, I love the past. That's so cool. So let's talk about, obviously you started the band and you're playing around the hardback, and maybe was it Covered Dish maybe, or any of those other venues and whatnot. When did you start working on Exemplar? And let's talk about that record, looking back on it.
So we did Jeremiah's Grotto. We went into a studio. It was called Turd Studios at the time. Now it's called Golden Tone. This guy, Rob McGregor, he's a really, really good guy. He's kind of like a staple, I think, in Gainesville, the music scene there. Okay. He's got a studio, and he's awesome. But we recorded 10 songs in his studio that we never released. Never got released. And that was with the first iteration of Jeremiah's Grotto. It's kind of all over the board. It's just all of our ideas, no continuity through it. But I think some of the songs were good and they were fun. And we were mostly, we play shows. We play Common Grounds, Hardback.
Oh yeah, Common Grounds. I forgot about that.
Some church shows outside of Gainesville. We didn't travel very much. But then, as bands do, people started coming and going. So by the time we were getting around to Exemplar, it was a whole different group of people. I mean, it had been a couple years and people, kind of cycled through. We had a really, we didn't have a lot of songs for Exemplar. I think we recorded more like an EP. Mm-hmm. But we just wanted to get the songs down. We went back to Rob, recorded with Rob. We didn't have anyone producing, and we didn't even really know what that was. And I'll be honest, we didn't know what a click track was, and we recorded everything live, just hit record and we'll go. If we mess up, oh well. Yeah. We mess up. So there's not a lot of overdub stuff, maybe some vocals.
Yeah.
So it's very raw. It's very
very 90s.
We did that. We packaged it up because we wanted to start doing tours. Yeah. We'd go for long weekends, and we wanted to have music to sell. So we just kind of hastily put it all together. Our other guitar player at the time, his brother, I think, paid for the recording. I think we paid $700 for all of it.
Wow.
And we didn't have any money. We were all
sure.
So we recorded that, and we released it ourselves originally. We bought we went to one of those music magazines where it's we'll press 1,000 CDs for $1,000. And so we saved up some money. We did a fundraiser show or something, and we put out our own CD. And they were well, let's mail this stuff off. So we'll send it off to labels, but we knew that it was not the greatest of recordings. But locally, people liked it, because they knew us. I think they were very kind to us, and not that we put out this amazing EP of any sorts, but and then we had music to sell while we were on the road. We finally had a CD, and we had some T-shirts to sell, which I guess was the dream at the time. So
yeah. Did you get to open for anyone cool in Gainesville while you guys, after the record had come out?
Yeah, we did the Branson Appleseed Cash show. What was that? We opened up for Bleach a few times.
That's cool.
In and around Gainesville. I think we did a Gainesville show with them in Live Oak, Florida, which is another.
Yeah.
Live Oak's kind of between Gainesville and Tallahassee.
I remember that venue too, because Smell played out there. I remember that.
Yeah. We played with Under Oath.
Wow.
I mean, Under Oath, those guys were a little bit younger than us, a little bit, but I mean, you could tell playing with them, like, yeah, these guys are
next level.
There was a band, was it Seventh Star?
Yeah, from Ocala. Yeah.
Yeah, we played with them. Man, we probably played with more. I can't remember everyone at the time. We did actually, not with the original lineup, but with the Exemplar lineup, we did play with, like, Dashboard Confessional would come out, like, it was just Chris and his guitar. He'd come and open up sometimes. And then actually on the Through It All album, on that touring, we played with him more, I think. Further Seems Forever, we did some shows with them.
That's cool.
In New York, like, of all places. Like, we're both from Florida, but we met up in, like, I don't know, somewhere around New York City. So yeah, we were always, like, getting fortunate with playing with some cool bands and meeting some cool people.
Yeah. Well, looking back on that record, I know you kind of said it was kind of thrown together, but how do you feel about it overall?
I like a lot of the songs. I wish, hindsight's 20/20, right? So I wish we would spend more time actually recording it or writing to make it better. Spend more time in the studio actually making it sound not so all over the place. But I mean, for what we had to work with at the time and our budget we had at the time, it's fine. Sure. It was fun. I think that's probably the most important thing is we had a good time. And it was like the first time any of us had stepped out and, like, we're just put something out. Yeah,
absolutely. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned sending it out to labels. Was there any obviously interest? I know you obviously wound up signing with Screaming Giant, but was there any other labels that kind of hit you back at all?
That was I forget who always sent it out to. Probably like Tooth and Nail and Screaming Giant and what was that one? Bulletproof.
Oh yeah.
We probably sent it out to all those. We didn't really have email. Like, it was a thing, but we just didn't have it. Or cell phones, obviously, that was not a thing.
Yeah.
So communication was always really tough, and none of us knowing exactly what to do and how to, the business side of all this, to how to make it work.
Yeah.
So Screaming Giant was just the one that called, and actually it was weird because I got a call from a guy, Ted Cookerly.
Yeah, I just talked to him yesterday.
He was the one who called. He was working at Screaming Giant. And when he said his name, I was like, that sounds good. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm EDL. And I was like,
yeah,
EDL. So I thought, like, I mean, for me, it was, it might as well have been like Robert Plant reaching out from Led Zeppelin.
Right. I know the feeling, man. I get it.
But, yeah, he talked to me, and he was a really cool guy. And he's like, yeah, I'm really wanting to push you on this label. They need a band like you guys on here. And I was like, okay, and I didn't know what that meant. He's like, yeah, we'll just re-release your record here. You just had to tweak some of the artwork, and we were just like, yeah, that sounds great. And they sent us a contract, and I don't even think we probably didn't hear from anybody else. And if we did, it got lost somewhere in communication. Sure. But they sent us a contract. We had no idea what to do with that. We had no one guiding us. I mean, we were as, like, absent-minded as anyone could be.
Sure.
And I mean, to be fair, like, Screaming Giant, like, the owner was a really good guy, really nice guy. His heart was in ministry.
Yeah.
And, their thing was bands would make demos, and he just kind of released the demos, and he had that G-Rock TV show was his deal.
Yeah.
And so you get, like, some airplay on that, and we're just like, yeah, all right, this is fun. Let's do this. And we went out there and we shot a music video, and he hosted G-Rock, and it's like,
that's awesome. A couple of the bands here signed to that, Lugnut and Honey Locust. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we met Honey Locust out in California. Another weird thing, two bands that are only like 2 hours apart, and we meet in some random state.
The drummer goes to my church, Kevin.
Yeah?
Yeah, we hang out a lot, so.
But yeah, we went with them, and we didn't know what a contract meant.
Sure.
I didn't know what options were. It had, like, in the contract, it said, like, options, and it was blank. And I called earlier, like, what number should I put right here?
That's hilarious. So you signed with Screaming Giant. Do you and you obviously they re-released Exemplar? Is that what they wound up doing?
Yep.
Okay. So do you hit the road? Do you hit the road with some of the Screaming Giant bands, or do you do you start working on Through It All?
No, we were always touring. We were always playing shows, and we would do like long tours that they were good. Like like most bands are, back then, right? It's like the weekends when you'd have good shows, and the weekdays it's just trying to play to get gas money and a meal and a place to sleep. So we were always touring. We didn't really spend a lot of time writing. We did write so we played with like Devoted Molded, who was a Screaming Giant band, who were great like live. Those guys were awesome. I think we did a lot of touring with them. A band called 710 Split out of Atlanta.
Oh yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
And they're fantastic. We played with Jesse and the Rockers, who I didn't understand until we got on the label and like I actually met the guys and listened to them live. I was like, oh, okay. They were really good. Met some other guys who were adjacent to, this was another label we sent to, DTS. From Donuts guys, met those guys. We actually did a tour with Rod Laver. And those guys were awesome. Like everyone we met was just really good people to be around. But it wasn't like big tours. It was like, all right, we're going to do like a few dates here, over here, and do a few dates. But we were always on the road. Our first really official tour, I think we were gone for like 64 days.
That's a long time. Good Lord.
It was a long time, especially when no one outside of Florida even knew who we were. We're just going to go and book shows, and hopefully locals will the local bands will play, and that's how we introduce ourselves to people. Yeah. And it's a tough way to do it.
It is.
Looking back.
It is.
But
So let's talk about Through It All, the record. Obviously your first proper record on Screaming Giant. Kind of maybe take me through that time writing that record and kind of your thoughts looking back on it now. Yeah,
so we were with on Exemplar for, again, a couple years. I think it was like 2 years. And again, like guys leave the band, someone else comes in. So it got to the point where it was like, I think we had a band conversation where it's like, this no longer works. And everyone was like, okay, we're done. And I was not done. And I was like, I'm not ready to be done. So I kind of took a few months. Who do I know? Who would I want to play in a band with? And it turned out the guys from Chrome Donuts, they were going through a change. They were no longer, their drummer had left. They got a drummer from a band from Lakeland called Delivery Boy, a guy named Joel Chastain. And so he joined Chrome Donuts. They were going to change their name to Through It All. And we were talking, and we met up on some weekend. They were in Lakeland just practicing. And I met up with them, and we just got to talking. And I was like, why don't we'll all get together and we'll all form a band together. And we'll use Jeremiah's Grotto's name. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. But then they called me like, hey, well, let's just jam. So we just jammed. And then like, I think it was like the next day or a couple of days later, I was talking to Dave Rutledge, who is in Jeremiah's Grotto. And he's like, no, we're going to do this. Like, yep, we're going to take on the Jeremiah's Grotto name, and we're going to write. And that first practice, we wrote a song together. I think what did is I had a song idea that was really similar to what Dave was working on. And that was like our first song we put together at the same time. It's called Always In Me. It's like the second song on the Through It All album. Yeah. And we wrote that. We practiced it in, I think it was my dad's barn and then in Joel's garage. And so, yeah, that's what we did. It was a big change in music style. It had a lot more like pop, a lot more punk influence than like Exemplar was probably more like Sunny Day. And then Mineral, although when we wrote Exemplar, I actually didn't know who Mineral was yet, but I was really into Sunny Day, and I think it's quite evident. Sure. But it was a drastic shift in like, it was more rock, more just like up-tempo rock and roll stuff. And yeah, we just started writing, and we started doing some tours. We're finishing out, I think, a few commitments that both bands had made. previously. So we finished out some stuff with that, and we just started writing music. I would travel up there. Those guys were living in Phoenix City, Alabama.
Oh, wow.
There, and we'd practice up there. We'd go to David's mother-in-law actually was their booking agent for Chrome Donuts. And then so she took on booking for Grotto. And they had like an extra shed house thing in their backyard on their property. And we go and we live there for like a month and write and practice and then go play shows.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, we spent a good amount of time writing the music, probably not enough time writing all the lyrics. I wish I would have put more time into vocals, but then we told Screaming Giant hey, this is what's happening. There's been a big shift in the band, here's some of our new stuff. And originally they said, okay, we want to go record. And they gave us like, okay, well, you got like a $3,000 budget, go and record. We wanted to go record Matt Goldman because of My Hotelier.
Totally.
And My Hotelier, Travis had, when he played before they actually released that, he played that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good.
So good.
It's still so good.
I know.
I was like, yeah, I want to go and record with this guy. And so we all talked about it, like, yeah. So we got a hold of him and we went and recorded. And Matt Goldman was awesome. I mean, like the things that I learned sitting in the studio and just listening to him was like,
yeah.
I mean, like another one of those moments where my mind is just blown. Like I had no idea
of
that's how any of this worked. I just thought I was like, well, I don't know how he did it, but when the band just goes in there, everyone just starts playing their instruments at whatever timing they want. And I mean, he's like tuning guitars, like, and getting the tones right and the drum tones, like,
yeah.
All I know how to do is just smack the guitar really hard and shout. But he did such an awesome job. And so yeah, we recorded that. There was like some fallout between Screaming Giant and us after the fact. But yeah, I mean, we recorded that for Screaming Giant for them to release. And I think they released 2 different versions of it. There's like 2 different covers that they put out.
Oh yeah, I did notice that.
Well, there's one that's like, it's like a tree, like a blue background. Then there's another one that's like a maroon background one. And then there's the re-release of that album on Future Destination Records, which is like a more like a pastel-y thing. But yeah, that album was great. That was so much fun to record. Again, I wish we'd spent more time writing lyrics and work on the vocal part, but we were so focused on like, let's get the music.
Yeah. But of the 2 Jeremiah's Grotto records, which one do you like the best?
I love the Through It All album because it was so much fun to like actually put that together, and then like
with Matt Goldman too,
Yeah, with Matt Goldman and like what he gave us, just the rough mix coming out of the studio was like, oh my gosh.
Did he help write songs with you, or did you guys? Was he his input?
Yeah. We had there's a song called "What Can I Do," and it's a really poppy song, short, like just super poppy. But we had a different version of it, and I mean, he just totally rearranged it. He's like, no, you need to do it like this, and we're like, yeah, your way's better. And then there was a song at the end of the album. Gosh, I can't remember the name of the song right now, but it's like the second to last song. And after we had left, he had redone the beginning of like the percussion and everything in the background. And it was just like, oh man, this is really good. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah, he was trying to help us make an even better album. And we were a little bit stubborn on some of that stuff. We were like a little bit like, no. Like, and maybe it was me. It was probably me going, no, I think this song should go first. It was an instrumental song. And, but he was trying to like really help us out with this.
Yeah.
And he made it like 100 times better than what we would have done on our own. So,
yeah. So after that record, obviously you're hitting the tour. You're still touring throughout. Any bigger shows that you do after that record release?
Yeah, bigger shows. Cincinnati, Ohio. We'd always, we'd go there, and Cincinnati was always a big place for us.
That's cool.
The South was always good for us. Playing Alabama and Florida, and it wasn't. We weren't like getting on big tours. We didn't. a lot of bands were like, hey, can we go tour with you guys? Like Beloved was one of like the band that we were like connected with those guys a lot. And it's like, I remember them like, hey, can we go on tour with you guys? It's like, well, you could, but like we don't make any money and it's not going to do either of us any good.
Unbelievable.
You know, and I wish, you know, like that we were bigger and have taken more bands out. But, you know, like the one-off shows were probably more suited.
Yeah.
Wilmington, North Carolina was always a really good show.
Yeah.
There's a place there called the Arc, which is like, you know, like the youth groupie place to play, but it was like almost like a legit venue. And they had good shows. You know, yeah, we play, like I said, Dashboard opened up for us, like Myrtle Beach.
That's so nuts.
Yeah, it's funny, Chris, he showed up at a show at Slacker 77.
Yeah.
And which was an awesome venue. I love playing there. It was small, but it was like that. It had that hardback vibe.
Yeah, love hardback.
But you know, like you're on the floor, you're face to face with people. And he showed up. He's like, "Hey, do you guys mind if I play a few songs before you play?" I'm like, "No, man, go ahead." And it was just him. It was like him and a friend of his, and they were just driving around like in a car with his acoustic tour. So cool. It was awesome.
That's amazing.
But yeah, you know, we did a lot of stuff like that. We're always touring. I mean, coast to coast. We were always going somewhere. We got on bigger festivals, and that was always fun.
Yeah.
Festival shows were always good. You know, you play for big crowds, you sell more merch.
Yeah.
You eat a little better, which is awesome. So
that's half the battle, man.
Yeah.
So then you wind up, you kind of alluded to some tension with the label. Is that, did you do the Million Miles EP with them, or was it separate, or how did that go?
Yeah, the Million Miles EP, we had these other songs that we just wanted to record, that we had just written over the course of touring. And so we went, there was a guy, Nick Williams, in Alabama, and we recorded those with him. And he's had a little studio set up in his house, and he's really fun to record with. I mean, he got it. He's like a multi-instrumentalist.
That's awesome.
Like guy. He's just really good at everything he picks up. And so we were recording those songs with him, and we were holding on to him for a while. We didn't really know what to do with them. Tension with the label, it was mostly driven by, we had played a show in, I don't know if it was Oshkosh or Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We played a show with a band called the Benjamins. It was on Drive-Thru. And they said, hey, you need to go do a showcase. Like, we're going to set it up. You guys go play for the owners of Drive-Thru when you're out in California, because that's where we were headed. So we get out to California, and we're actually staying at the house of the owner of Screaming Giant. But we knew, like, hey, we played like the Knitting Factory in Hollywood. Yeah. And then we were doing a showcase at like some rehearsal space for Drive-Thru, and we didn't want to say anything to Screaming Giant. And we felt at the time, that our album was like, man, this we got to do something bigger with this. Yeah. Right, wrong, or indifferent, and like that's just where we were at the time. And so we didn't tell Kendall about that, but we did this little thing for Drive-Thru, and we ran out this little like rehearsal space, and they came and they watched us, and I don't think that they weren't really impressed. I think they were like, we already have like 5 bands just like you guys, so okay. But it was weird though, that same time we played the Knitting Factory in Hollywood, and a guy was at that show, this guy Mark Wolfson, who was he was like an A&R or an exec or something at Playtone Records, which is Tom Hanks' record label. Yeah. And like that movie was that Thing You Do. Yeah. So like they talk about, like, in the movie, there's a character they bring into this band called Wolfman to play bass. Yeah. That's based off Mark Wolfson. Oh, wow. So he's like, hey, I want you guys to come down. Like that night, after we played, he's like, hey, I'm going to rent you this space, and then you're going to meet me here, and I want to bring someone here, and we're going to film this, and we're going to talk. And so we're like, okay, like young dumb guys. We're like, yeah, okay, this is going to be huge. So we go and we get to this space, and I mean, he's legit. He's as advertised, man. He is like the guy who knows. Yeah. And we go to this space, and he's kind of shifting us. We're playing. He's like, all right, you stand here and you do this, and so then we get to talking, and he wants to do something, but he's like, and we're gonna add a keyboard player, and I think David and I were kind of like, no, we're not. No, we're not. Like we were like, we know, like we know how we're supposed to function, not this outside guy. And again, I think that just, kind of overconfident or arrogant or whatever it was. I think he had some really good ideas, and we just like, no, this guy doesn't know. So,
this guy doesn't sleep on floors.
This guy, he hasn't been there.
He doesn't struggle to eat every night. He doesn't know.
He doesn't live off $2 a day per diem. So just another thing, like, I don't know, but all that stuff created like this tension with Screaming Giant, because I let the owner of Screaming Giant know that we weren't happy with like just being not promoted a lot through the label. And that wasn't the label's like thing. That wasn't how they were. They weren't like out there to try like, sell hundreds of thousands of records. It was ministry. And so, probably stuck my foot in my mouth with him. But we eventually just left. I don't even think we had like any official thing. We actually re-released the album on Vindicated.
Oh yeah.
And then Screaming Giant took that artwork and copied it and re-released it back on Screaming Giant with new artwork. And but then it just kind of faded out, and like we just stopped talking to Screaming Giant, and they stopped trying to get a hold of us, and we stopped trying to get a hold of them. And years later, though, I talked to the owner, and we were like, I was like, hey, man, sorry for all that stuff, just young and dumb and thinking we were something we weren't. And he was like,
under the bridge.
Yeah, he's like, no, not even a worry, man. Just,
That was a different time, and it makes sense. I totally understand why you might think that or act that way, and vice versa. That was just an explosion of music, and there was so much, like, you didn't know what to do, how to do it, and then this could be big, it's just kind of out there.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
We were like I think of the mind of like, man, while it's here, you got to go after everything.
Exactly. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Maybe overly ambitious. I don't know.
So let's talk about the end of the band. Is that kind of what led maybe partially to the end of the band, or is what kind of put you guys on that trek to ending the band?
Well, we were touring, and our bass player, he had to miss a tour. He had to stay home, and he was married, and he just needed time at home. So we had another tour already planned. So we were going without our bass player, and I forget, something was going on with our drummer. Our drummer, Joel Chastain, had a really good heart. He was a really good guy. He had like addiction problems.
Sure.
And I think he was dealing with that. So we had this tour where we got like some fill-in guys. And we actually got the drummer from a band called Eustace, who... Oh,
I remember that band, yeah.
Helped them get a release of their album. They're three guys, and they were all awesome musicians too, and they should have been bigger. But we borrowed their drummer, who's this guy Cliff Swaim, who is awesome. And then we had a bass player. The drummer from Chrome Donuts was actually a bass player, and he came play bass on a tour with us. And then we did another tour we already had lined up where we had a guy from Jesse and the Rockers played bass for us, a guy named Mitch, and then the drummer from the Goodbye Letter, a guy named Sean, came and played on that. And then Dave and I were just like,
we're done.
Yeah, we're done. It's not the same, So, and Dave was about to get married, or he was just married, and it's like, okay, it's time. So we wrapped up a tour and then drove home, and that was it for then.
Yeah. Well, looking back on the band in general, like, kind of, what are your thoughts, and what kind of, do you feel like you made some sort of impact of any? I feel like you did. Looking back on it, yeah. What are your thoughts?
I loved it. I loved all the different phases of it, and I think touring, like, that really got my appetite for like traveling and finding new places, like exploring, going. And more so, like, I love playing live. Like, that was always I love playing, with the band. Like, when like you're locked in and everyone's like playing and it sounds good. I love doing that, but more so, I love meeting like new people in new places. Like, that was just so much fun, and like seeing places I never thought, growing up, never thought I'd ever visit in my entire life. I got to go see like the whole country. It was awesome.
That's so cool.
I still have friends, we're talking here. I still have a lot of friends that I've met on tours and people that we've connected with and the people I can, we message each other and like things that have lasted, all these years now. Like, I don't know what's been like probably pushing 30 years ago. So
crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, I think we had maybe a small impact somehow.
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, let's talk about Farewell to Fashion. Obviously, you weren't done. So maybe kind of talk me through how that kind of came together and then how Future Destination kind of came into the picture.
Yeah. So as we're winding down Jeremiah's Grotto, I'm like, I don't know how to do anything else. It's either this or I go back to work in construction. And I'm not ready to do that. So I started thinking about, bands I played with and people and who's doing what and where. And there was a band out of Orlando called, I think it was Gasworks. This guy named Chad McDaniel who played bass. And I just thought, I'm going to reach out to Chad. And then there was a guy in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Ryan Dunson, he has a band called Rookie of the Year.
Oh, yeah.
He was in a punk band called the Out Ones, but he'd always put on shows in Fayetteville, and they were good shows. And I was like, I knew he was a guitar player, and he writes a lot of music. So I started kind of piece together, who could I talk to about trying something different, something completely new. And I went to one of the old Jeremiah's Grotto drummers, a guy named Jeff McQueen. And I got everyone together and was like, all right, guys, this is what my idea is, this kind of music, we do this all brand new, no ties to, what we've been doing in the past, not trying to continue a name or whatever. I think Jeff bowed out pretty quick. He's like, no, this isn't for me. So Chad had another friend of his. They came to Sebring, Florida, where I live out in Podunk, middle of nowhere. I was working an overnight job at a grocery store at the time. They practiced that night. I got off of work in the morning. I went and practiced the songs they wrote. And then we played a show because there was a festival in a town called Avon Park. So we played I think we played 2 Jeremiah's Grotto songs and 3, new songs. And then we did well at this little tiny hardcore festival. There might have been 50 kids. But it was a 2-day festival for 50 kids. And so hey, can you guys come play tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. So we went back the next day and we played. I think we added a song. But then we just same kind of stuff. We just started hitting the road. It's booking shows, write a bunch of songs, book a bunch of shows. We wrote enough songs that we wanted to record. Went back to Nick Williams, and recorded a handful of songs which were on the Price of Fame EP. Okay. And then when we recorded those songs, I remember Future Destination from West Virginia. The record that was based out of Hurricane, West Virginia. And I was like, hey, I want to give him to this guy because I remember this guy. He just seemed like an honest guy. Yeah. Not trying to be big time, not but. And so I called him. I was like, hey, can you put this EP out? And he's like, yeah, sure. And that started that. And then we just started touring. I mean, we started playing shows, and the shows were a little bit bigger than Grotto shows for the most part. Nice. The weekend shows were, the weekdays are the weekdays, Monday, no one's going to a Monday show to see a band they haven't heard of. So, yeah. But, and then we kind of kept writing as we were touring like crazy.
When you guys talked to Future Destination, was it a handshake type deal or was it actual contracts or?
I believe it was a handshake type deal. Matt, the owner of the label, he was a smart kid. He had that, and he had a button company where he'd make buttons for touring bands, and he's just a smart kid. But I don't know, we just had a good connection with him, and I think he trusted us, and we were going to tour and we were going to do whatever we could to sell the EP. Yeah. So much so we had a different record label after that want to sign us for a full length, a label called No Compromise out of Cleveland. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. And so when it was time to go to the studio, he sent us to someone from Zayo, so old Zayo. Yeah. Before Liberate. Yeah. sent us to go record with them, but then they didn't have, like, they weren't ready for us. And so then we went to Cleveland. He had another guy where we recorded the You Couldn't Possibly album. But then, like, the label was just, they weren't ready for us either. It was like, you know, the things that we had talked about, like, hey, you know, we need tour support, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They were just not ready to do. And then Matt at Future Destination was like, hey, we asked him, hey, could you, like, co-release this so we can get this thing out? He's like, why don't you guys just have me release it? I'll just do it. And we're like, yeah, okay.
Sweet.
And yeah, Matt was a great guy. I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was all handshake deals, and he just was always there. You know, we would run out of CDs, he'd ship us stuff, you know, what we needed.
Yeah.
It was a split, you know, like you take your half, we take our half, and
that's cool.
It's just I hope that I hope he made his money back off of us. Is the
yeah. So, well, you mentioned the Price of Fame EP. Let's talk about that briefly. You know, your first songs writing together. What was the vibe like? Do you feel like it kind of clicked pretty quickly? And looking back on that EP, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cohesive. I think we all kind of knew we're all in a similar vein of what we wanted to do. You know, we weren't trying to be like super screamy at the time, like a lot of bands were. You know, sing, scream.
Yeah.
We just wanted to have stuff that was semi-heavy but still had hooks, like still like kind of had like the pop sensibility of a hook that would like people go yeah like that. I think we did fairly well in accomplishing that. You know, we didn't do it like there wasn't a ton of stuff that we could do with the EP. You know, we had 4 songs. One was just an intro to a song, and I think the 2 of the other songs were re-recorded for You Couldn't Possibly, although I think Nick's recording was better. And then one song we just left it on the EP as you know, the only time it was released, but it worked really well. We wanted to have something to sell before we hit the road.
Sure.
So we could leave people with something.
Well, what was the touring like? I think you mentioned it was a little bit bigger than the Grotto shows, but were you playing with some cool bands, or was it just on your own?
Yeah, we got to play a lot of cool bands. This part of our problem was we never spent time in the studio, which is like problem I think I have. It's like I always just want to play live, so we'd be in the studio and be like, hey, Norma Jean's playing, let's go play with Norma Jean. And like so we played a lot of shows with Norma Jean. We did some stuff with Me Without You and Norma Jean. Brand New, Taking Back Sunday.
Wow.
Instant. We did a tour with My Hotel Year. Embodiment. We did a small tour with Embodiment.
Wow, that's so nuts.
Yeah, we got to play a lot of like really awesome bands. We did a one-off show. We didn't even know who they were. We played in Arizona. I don't think it was Phoenix. It was somewhere around there, but with Scary Kids Scaring Kids.
Wow.
Yeah, we were just Dead Poetic. We actually played Dead Poetic's like their, was it 4 Wall Blackmail album?
Wow.
We played that CD release party with them. We actually met them in Nashville. First time we ever heard Coheed and Cambria was they played it for us in the parking lot of the venue.
That's cool.
And but yeah, we played a handful of shows with them. Yeah, we're always like finding our way onto some, like, you know, with some decent bands, playing festivals. Festivals became like,
that's awesome.
Why don't we just play festivals, man? There's already people here. So.
The life, bro. The life. Well, let's talk about the You Couldn't Possibly record. I know you kind of alluded to it somewhat, maybe having some of the songs from the EP on it. Looking back on it, maybe your thoughts on it and kind of how that record kind of came together.
So, yeah, we were touring. And like I said, we never put enough stock into recording. We just were always like live show, sure. Live show, tour. And we played a ridiculous amount of shows every year.
Yeah.
And I like the songs on that album, You Couldn't Possibly album. I can't stand the recording, though. I think the recording is just like, I mean, it shows that we were just lazy in the studio and and we should have taken more time. Now, if you listen to like, you know, Ryan, when he broke off a Farewell and he started Rookie of the Year, like he's a good songwriter, and he's a guy who'll spend some time in the studio and get it right. Yeah. And I wish we had that mentality. Farewell.
I get it.
It's just, I don't know. I don't know. For whatever reason back then, I felt I just didn't care about being in the studio at all. I was like, yeah, we're just having this as a formality. let's go out and tour. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen out there. Let's go out there.
No, I get that.
But I do love the songs. Most of the songs on that album, I can listen to them now and be like, man, that was a lot of fun. I really like playing that. I enjoyed like live. I remember people's reactions live, you know. But yeah, just that's something that I guess maybe every artist would love to go do, is go re-record and have another crack at it.
They'll go at it for sure. Well, so with that record coming out, and are things going pretty well at that point, or is it kind of, you know, just kind of the same old, same old?
It's they're better, but they're not, you know, we didn't have a booking agent really at that time. There's still so much of the business side that we didn't know. And yeah, I think the lack of having a good recording kept us from like going and trying to like take another, like a bigger step, you know. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think we just thought that touring was going to be the answer. And then as, you know, Farewell to Fashion went along, you know, members start coming and going. And then we wound up like I think the core lineup of Farewell to Fashion was myself, Gary Hughes, Chad McDaniel, and Trey Colson. And the four of us have never been on a released recording together.
Wow.
But I think that's really where we found our, like, we all really groove well together. But you know, it was like a lot of ups and downs, probably like most bands, you know, like small mid-level bands go through, right? Like being poor and sleeping in a van and blizzards, and
it gets old.
You're just like, I'm like, man, what are we doing? So, you know, you get older and there's a switch in you, and maybe you're like 24, 25. It's like, I don't know if I want to wake up next to someone else's feet all the time, like some other dude's feet. So
I get that. Is that kind of how the end of the band came?
It was slow, you know. I mean, we kept trying to book tours, and then we'd start off. I think we had 2 tours that we started off on, and we like played like a show or 2, and then we'd like find out like, oh well, the next few dates have canceled because of whatever. And I was like, well, we're not going to drive all the way from like North Carolina to Chicago for the show might not happen, you know. So like we turned around, I think twice, because like tours were just
falling apart.
And you know, and probably a lot of it is like, you know, you shouldn't book tours in the winter like around Chicago.
Yeah.
So we got caught in a blizzard in Toledo once, and we should have known better. So we just kind of started slowing that down. We started doing like the festivals, and that was really fun. And then we kind of broke up, you know, as like the band, but then we've gotten back together a few times to do some stuff, and we did like, I don't know, I guess it wasn't really a tour, but we had some friends from Iceland come over, and we played some shows around Florida with them because they wanted to play in the U.S. and
that's cool.
And so we did like a little thing with them, and that was pretty awesome. But
what band was that?
It was a band called, I'm going to pronounce it messed up.
Sigur Rós?
Yeah, right. To same style. No. It was a band called Nogl, but it's spelled Nogl. And they were like kind of like like boxcar racer type thing. They broke up, and one of the guys actually wound up moving to California, but met them in Iceland, and then they wanted to come over and play shows over in the U.S. And so we set up like 4 or 5 shows around Florida with them.
That's cool.
So we did like a little trip so they could play, and we did Tampa and West Palm and Orlando.
That's awesome.
And Claremont, and they had a blast, and it was really fun.
That's cool. Well, you know, when you finally ended the band, did you feel like it was time to kind of move on from music for you? Or is that kind of where you hit that point?
Ooh, yes and no. At the time I had to, you know, I had my oldest daughter, and I was going through things like between myself and her mom, and just trying to like, you know, get that part of life straight. But I, you know, like music, meaning like now, like it never, once you do it, you never stop. It's like skateboarders can relate. Like once you're a skateboarder, like everything you look at, you're like, oh, can you slide on that? Could you grind on that? Like music's the same thing. Like I listen to music all day, every day, and driving around, and you know, you're always like, oh man, I'm always writing stuff. So I don't think it's ever over. I would love to play again.
Yeah.
And then the Farewell guys, we're talking about doing some stuff, and even David and I from Jeremiah's Grotto talk about doing stuff, and we played sporadically through the years, but it's finding time when everyone's scattered all over the place. We're all in different cities, and it's tough. And now I'm in like Middle Tennessee, and I know like everyone around here is like a musician of some sort, but I'm too nervous to go and like, hey, want to jam or something? I don't have that conversation anymore.
No, dude, I get it. Well, let me ask you this. Looking back on your on the records that you put on, what are you most proud of overall, and maybe you're most proud of the song that you're most proud of?
My favorite record is the Jeremiah's Grotto Through It All record. Just the way it turned out, working with Matt Goldman was probably the best recording experience ever. And like I said, probably 100 times, I wish I would have taken even more time and learned more and done more and followed his example a lot more.
Yeah.
But I love all the music, and even like a bunch of stuff like Farewell. We've recorded a handful of things that were never released, but I love everything that we put together and recorded, all the music through Grotto and all the way through Farewell stuff. I love it all. It all is like very much like, when I listen to it, I play it. Like I remember
that's cool.
Creating it and like being that part and like, what was going on that time, the nostalgia factor of it. Right.
Yeah.
Song wise, one of my probably all time favorites is a Farewell fashion song called Bullets and Ponytails.
Yeah.
And just when we were writing that song, I remember hanging out with my daughter. She was like 4 or something at the time. And she had the bag that a guitar string comes in. And we were out on my dad's property and we were shooting guns. We were, just target shooting or something. And she's picking up all the shells and she's putting them in this little bag. And she's got her long hair up in a ponytail. And so it's like her little hair tie thing. And she's putting some of those in there. And she goes, what this bag is good for? Good for bullets and ponytails.
Aww.
I was like, yeah. And so I don't know, I just always like that because of the connection with my daughter.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like I said, I love all the songs. I love all the music. We still write. I still talk with all these guys, and we still write. We just, I don't know. You get older and married with kids, and life happens.
Dude, I get it. That's so cool. That's awesome. Well, tell me, what does the future look like for you? I know you kind of described, possibly in the future, maybe some things, but what does the future look like for you overall?
I'd say first and foremost, it's being the family guy, which I absolutely love it. My wife and my kids, like that's like, I'm very blessed, like where we're at in life and the family life and everything. We're very, very blessed. Music wise, I'm always writing. I'm always down for doing more stuff. We're actually talking with the guys from Farewell guys last night. We're trying to figure out how, to get something, just to do something. Hey, let's play a little show. Doesn't even have to be anything
crazy.
Like, let's play like, the Back Booth or Will's Pub or something in Orlando.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, just to do something, right? Like because it's still there, it's still in you. And so yeah, who knows? I don't live that far away from David Rutledge from Jeremiah's Grotto. I mean, he's in Phoenix City, Alabama, and I'm in Columbia, Tennessee. It's only like 3 or 4 hours or something, maybe.
Oh yeah. So
that's not too bad. And we talk all the time too about like, he records a bunch of stuff and sends me these audio files. I don't know how to record anything like other than the memo thing on my phone. I don't know how to do that stuff. I need to teach me how to, I'll buy the computer and the software, just someone teach me how to do it.
Yeah.
Because I would love to just be like one of those guys who can send all these files everywhere and like put stuff together. I just don't know how to do anything like that.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But yeah, who knows? Who's to say, right?
Who is to say? Chris, this has been so cool. A little trip down memory lane. Been awesome talking to you, and really appreciate your friendship over the years. And I know we lost touch for a little bit, but it's just nice to have you back in my life. And I really appreciate you talking to me and giving me your viewpoint and your perspective on your past.
Yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate the time and thanks for reaching out. And like I've told you before, I think it's awesome you're doing this. All these stories are so interconnected.
Yeah.
All these podcasts, I listen to these and it's like, man, I remember this, and I remember when that happened, and it's just crazy. You know, like I said before, it's like it's such a small world, you know, and all these connections. It really brings it all closer. So it's awesome.
Awesome. Well, Chris, you rule. Hopefully we get to see each other in person soon, and then go from there.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right, Brady. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you to the listener for tuning in to this latest episode. Could not do it without you. Really, really appreciate it, guys. At the Rumors Are True Cast on Facebook and Instagram. If you would like to like and subscribe, you know what to do. So thank you, guys. I'd like to thank Chris Siegle. Awesome conversation. It's so cool to reconnect with you, old friend. It's been a while since we talked, so it was really just an awesome opportunity to hear these stories. And man, it's just cool to reconnect with you, man. So thank you, Chris. Amazing artists on the horizon, guys. Nostalgia, guys, you know, is still a heck of a drug.